All right, when we start looking at compound inequalities, we're looking at more than one inequality around my variable n. So let's break this apart. Whenever you see a compound inequality, you want to think about it as two parts. So we're going to break this down. So I have -2 is less than or equal to n. And I also, notice this is an and situation because I have both of them. And n is also less than or equal to 4. So I want to find the solutions of n that can satisfy this. So let's look over here. What I'm saying here is that this, if I wanted to verbalize it, n is at least -2. And it also has to be no more than 4. So remember that when I have no more than, that's going to be a less than thing because it means that the highest number that it can be is 4. But it could still be 4, so hence the equals. But if it's at least -2, it means the smallest number that it could be is -2. So it means n could be -2, but it could also be bigger than. So whenever you see at least, it's going to be less than or equal to. It's going to be less than or equal to. All right. So hopefully you have this written down. So let's just make a note on our paper that less than or equal to my variable, my variable n is greater than or equal to, because I'm reading it that direction. This equals at least with my number on this side. And let's also make a note that when I see this with my variable here and my number here, this is no more than. All right, this is going to be really helpful. Make sure you have this down on an index card. All right, let's go back to solving our problem. Now, fortunately, if I'm looking back at solving this, I can recognize that I don't have to do any algebra because I already have my variable on one side and I have my constant on another side by itself. So at this point, I'm going to graph it so that I can visualize what all n can be. So go ahead and make sure that you have your graph written out. Draw a number line. Let's label it at least -6 to +6. Mine isn't drawn to scale. It's a little bit funky, but it'll work for this purpose. So next thing you want to do is make sure you have a highlighter. If you need to pause me, do so, but go get a blue and a yellow highlighter. Markers and crayons aren't going to cut it here. All right, welcome back. Let's look at these. I first am going to take my yellow highlighter and I'm going to look here at this side of my equation. I'm going to find -2 is less than or equal to n. And because it could be equal to, it's a closed circle. So let's draw that in. All right, now let's think about this. Which direction am I going? Is n bigger than -2 or smaller than -2? Well, my dinosaur teeth are opening to n, so it means n is got to be bigger than -2, which means I'm going to the right. So get out your yellow highlighter, and let's highlight the entire area here to the right on my number line. It goes to infinity, right? It could be any of those. But I need to find the part that's true for both. So now let's get out our blue highlighter, and let's look at what n is less than or equal to 4 looks like. So remember that I'm going to graph that with a closed circle because it could be equal to. So if I'm finding 4, it's right here. I'm going to fill it in, and I'm going to take my highlighter, and I'm going to highlight all of the areas over here to the left to infinity. And because your highlighter is real and not digital, you should have green right here in between because yellow and blue is green. So the area in between my two dots are the areas that could be true. So all of the solutions are represented right here. So it's true that -1 is greater than -2, and it's also less than 4. That could also be -1/2. That would be true. I could have a +2 because +2 is greater than -2, and it's also less than 4, right? It's right in between. I could have 0.0333 repeating indefinitely. That's about here on my number line. That's in my green zone, so that also works. So this whole area satisfies my inequality. Let's look at doing another and. Alrighty, welcome back. Let's look at this guy. Okay, remember that the first thing I'm going to do when I see two inequalities going on is I'm going to end up separating it into two parts. So my first part here is 32 is less than t. Recognize that because I've got two inequalities, this is an and situation. And then what's going on over here? Oh, t is less than 40. Cool, I don't need to do any algebra. I just get to go ahead. I've done my separating. I've written my and. Now I get to graph. Go ahead and make sure you have your number line written out. Notice that 30 is even smaller than this, so I'm going to start there. And 40 is the biggest possible number, so I'm going to go ahead and use that as my largest. You could have 50 up here. That's fine too if you do your number line out further. But this will work. So let's go ahead and make sure we get those highlighters out. And let's start. Let's call this one my yellow. So 32 is smaller than t. Open circle or closed circle, guys? Closed circle. Good. Why? Right, exactly. Because it does not equal 32. It's only the ones that are bigger than 32. So I'm going to draw a big circle around 32 and not fill it in. Because it cannot be equal to 32. It's just going to be bigger than. Okay, so if it's bigger than, which direction am I going? Well, t is on this side, so it's going this way. So I'm going to get out my yellow. And I'm going to color in all the points that go this direction to infinity. Okay, the next I'm going to look at my blue. And I'm going to look at t is less than 40. Closed circle or open circle? Right, it's an open circle. Why? Because there's not equal to 40. It's all of the parts that are less than 40. But 40 cannot also be a solution here. So I'm going to end up drawing this all the way over. Ooh, past that. Okay, so it keeps going on to infinity. And because you don't have a digital marker, you have a real, this part should be green. It's the part in between my two circles. So now take your green and I want you to draw an open circle around your blue, open circle around your yellow, and this should be the graph for your solution. So it's all of the parts in between 32 and 40, not equaling 32 and 40. Voila, good job, guys. Let's do a couple more and then I'll release you on your own. All right, take a moment and try doing this one on your own. Pause me. Do it just like we did before. You can rewind the video, and when you're done, unpause me and we'll check your work. All right, at this point, hopefully you recognize that you needed to separate it into two parts, and that because you separated it into two parts, it was part of an and group, and then hopefully your graph looks something like mine. Hopefully you recognized that the solutions in between my two circles were solutions, and that it's anything that is not 3 and is not 2, -2, but it's everything in between 3 and -2. And that is my solution. I'm going to give you guys a couple more to do, and then let's up the ante a bit. Please copy these 4 problems down onto your paper. Solve them by breaking them apart, graph them, and make sure that you highlight in green the parts that are a solution. I will check these in class tomorrow.